Good morning, viewers. Good afternoon, depending on what part of the world you're actually in. I wanted to look at the Brett Kavanaugh nomination, like so many other readers have been doing. I think the fact that there's so much focus on this is underscores just how important it is to the future, but more so, I guess, how much the average person on the street is going to be affected by the outcome of his nomination, whichever way it goes. So it is a very important subject to read on. The Supreme Court in America, while it doesn't necessarily rule on anywhere else but America, it has always been traditionally a leader in thought, in the economy, and of course in the rule of law for Western democracies. So the nomination process and the things that are riding on this nomination process, I think, is something that the world is looking at and wondering what the outcome will be. We've had multiple things happen so far in the nomination processes. I think is only in its second day, and that includes documents that found that Brett Kavanaugh may have perjured himself. We've had Republicans releasing thousands and thousands of pages of documents 15 hours or so before the nomination hearing was ready to go ahead. And against the backdrop of all this, we have what is emerging from the White House with the Woodward's book and the latest op-ed in the New York Times, which is indicating that a senior advisor in the White House is actually part of the resistance and is very, very worried about Donald Trump's mental capacity, and his, I guess, clear and present danger to the United States, that they've stayed in the job deliberately as a patriot to protect the nation. So, I mean, all of this is unprecedented when we have Cohen and the fact that Trump has been named as a co-conspirator in a criminal investigation. He's nominated a Supreme Court judge, of course, who has said in the past that a sitting president can't be indicted. So it's against this backdrop that there's almost a desperation amongst the Democrats to try and delay this nomination process. Alternatively, the Republicans are rushing it through. So I ask Spirit very much what we need to know about the Kavanaugh nomination. Not so much whether it will go ahead, but that whether he will be successful or not, because that may emerge during this card reading. But what we needed to know, and the images that I got and the messages that I got, was very much this is about a critical time, a critical nomination, a critical process, a critical page in history that will impact the average everyday person on the street. And I got an image of a young child, and the messages around that was that this nomination will affect generations, future generations. It will affect their liberty and the things that they that social equality that we all take for granted at times, but when it's under threat, by golly, we step up and we move forward. So I think that's the desperation you're seeing, trying to protect the average man in the street. The average person in the street, I should say. So let's have a look at what the cards are going to say. The King of Swords. Well, of course, that is always in when I read that is indicating of the Mueller investigation. So what is happening in this nomination process is that that the Mueller investigation is casting a shadow over it, and very much what is coming out about certain Russian influence, meddling in the election, some of the money. I'm getting very strong the money that has been flowing as a result of the Trump presidency into various corners, that this nomination is critical to that money flow. Let's see what that actually means. The King of Pentacles. I really enjoy tarot reading because when I get impressions and pictures and messages and intuitive feelings, generally, not always, but generally the cards will back me up. And that's very much the Donald Trump, the Republicans, the men in power. It is all about the money. And it appears at this stage of the reading that the Kavanaugh nomination is connected with the money. And that this tumultuous, chaotic time that is surrounding the elections is illustrated in this card, and it's going to continue because it's in a future-oriented position. This fighting, this battling, they're battling to get Kavanaugh through, and if they don't, there will still be a tumultuous environment. We'll just clarify some of these cards. In the past, we have the Two of Pentacles. Now, this is Mueller, I think, weighing up the many options that he's got at the moment. They're working very hard. They're having to make choices about which way they go forward, and they're grave choices. I think that's why there's a lot of contemplation, a lot of reflection, because whatever choices they make, they need to make that in the best interest of the country, of America. In the present, we get the Six of Cups. Now, the Six of Cups is actually gifts, linkages, alliances in this instance, and so that is that to me is talking about the alliances and the linkages, the relationships with Trump and the Republican Party and others in perhaps in Washington and further afield, lobbyists, that whole network that has fed the political system, not just in the US, but in Australia, in other countries around the world. Politics has been traditionally a very dirty game, but I think that under the Trump era, we've seen that escalate into criminality. Such obvious criminality, and all of this is the environment in which the Kavanaugh nomination is coming forward. Okay, so the Knight of Cups. What we see here is that there will be some sort of proposal in the future. It may be between the two two parties, the Republicans and the Democrats. It may be that there is some sort of proposal coming forward around the Kavanaugh nomination. I'm not sure what that will be. Is that going to be a delay? Let's delay this hearing until this chaotic, tumultuous time is worked through. Perhaps the forces, the chaotic forces surrounding Trump, the escalation of the information and the secrets that are emerging from around the White House and the Trump presidency is going to be too much for that nomination process to continue. In the past, we have, in the Mueller, what is going on with the Mueller investigation, which has a direct bearing on the present, is the justice card, and that very much that the scales of justice, the processes of justice, are working their way through into the present, and are impacting on the Kavanaugh nomination. Look, there's the money again. So this is about those that are seeking power and are doing so to build their own coffers, their own legacies, their own bank balances, their own assets. And that again is surrounding the Kavanaugh nomination, and it could be that Kavanaugh is seeking to do that himself, to build his own assets, to build his own legacy, to build his own, flow of money coming into him. There seems to be in the present a distinct theme in this reading of follow the money trail. Okay, so here we are in the future position with the Kavanaugh nomination. It will be suspended. So the hangman, we're in a stalemate, a state of suspension. From this reading, and I'm not even going to do any more mirroring cards to get a clearer picture, because I think we've already got a clearer picture. This reading is saying that because of the processes around bringing this regime to justice, restoring democracy, that the current nomination with Kavanaugh is very much connected to the money trail, to this investigation, and there is so much chaos and such a tumultuous environment that is impacting on the everyday person's interests, that the nomination process will be suspended. It will be put off. It will be delayed. There will be a decision made by both sides of the aisle to say, we're in unprecedented times. It's not in the best interests of the everyday person, of the nation's citizens, to proceed at this point with the Kavanaugh nomination. That's my take on all of this, viewers. Let's see if I'm correct. It'll unfold over the next week or so. While the matters here are very grave, it seems to me that there is an escalation generally in the information, and the secrets are coming out now. We're getting a clearer picture of what the Trump campaign, what the Trump election, what the Trump presidency is actually all about. And there's no surprises really for any of us that it is connected with building of assets, building of wealth, and that we need to bear in mind that Mueller is following the money, and that justice will prevail. But immediately for the Kavanaugh nomination, I think that it will be suspended. Thank you, viewers.